But I welcome the opportunity to contribute on this bill, and I know the Minister, the Department, the Committee and a great many others have put a huge amount of work into it, so I commend all of you for that significant work on what is an extremely important bill which has been long called for and I believe is even more important today than it was when it was originally proposed. The creation of a new regulatory body which will implement, enforce and indeed update rules in relation to content is extremely important. The Commission will also update the new online safety codes and help tackle and reduce harmful content with indeed Schedule 3 of the bill listing a range of categories on the basis of the legislation, including sexual offences, rape, people and drug trafficking and other offences which will be included. But the area that I'd like to focus in on, Lascan Corla, is the measures relating to cyberbullying, eating disorder, self-harm and or suicide, which has the potential to cause extreme distress to young people engaging in the online world. It's extraordinarily important for children of Ireland, and it's long overdue. It also incorporates elements of the recommendations of the Law Reform Commission, which shouldn't go unmentioned. But as has been said by other contributors to this discussion, online bullying can have devastating consequences. We know of many unfortunate incidents which have led to tragedies over many years. And while the online element of bullying is not always the beginning and the end of those experiences, it's often done in person as well. The anonymity that is offered online is a massive problem that global society must deal with. But if we can tackle it in Ireland, well then I believe we should try. It is, for members of this House who would know only too well, insidious and almost constant. And for younger people who may not be as well equipped as adults to deal with such harmful content and or cyberbullying, any measure the government can take through the establishment of the Commission is to be welcomed. We can all talk about more vulnerable members of our society and indeed the various instances of tragedies that have befallen society in recent years, with cyberbullying playing a very significant role in tragic circumstances. I do understand, however, that there are a number of concerns raised in relation to the bill, to which I understand the Minister and the Department are giving due consideration. And I think and I understand that you will be reviewing recommendations emerging from an expert group on this matter, and I think it's important that we get the steps correct and that the bill reflects stakeholder views as much as possible. I also recognise that the complaints mechanism is a very complex area of legislation, not least due to the sheer volume of online content. I am going to mention infant formula, Lascan Corla, because I do think it is actually something that's quite important. And I am pleased to see that the Commission has been given the power to regulate this area in line with public health advice. But it is worth noting that the Broadcasting Authority has been given authority by the EU law to ban the advertising of such infant formula by broadcasters in Ireland. And I think, you know, there are certain things that some people might consider to be over-regulation, and then there's areas that just make sense in terms of public health guidance, and this is probably one of them. So I wouldn't necessarily be in favour of banning things, but I think in this particular instance, this is possibly one that indeed should be acceptable to all. I'd also like to note the creation of to create flexible legislation that would be able to incorporate forthcoming legislation and allow the Commission to be able to adapt to new measures, which I think is really welcomed. But the most important aspect, and the Minister will know this from her time on the opposition benches, is that adequate resourcing of such a Commission is absolutely imperative. There's no point in us giving them a role, particularly one that is this big, and then not adequately resource them to deal with it. And I do appreciate that we have acute difficulties in the employment areas because we are at virtual full employment, and it is difficult to encourage people to join the ranks of the public service or the semi-public service, whatever they might be considered, But ultimately, if we resource them adequately, then they will be able to do such a crucial role. And I've only touched on sort of one side of the house, if you will, of the particular role of the Commission. But I do think it's important just to go back to the major issue of our time, which is online content and the adaptability of the Commission to be able to adapt to new platforms and new methods of communication, and how that will actually interface, particularly with our children, is of the utmost importance. A couple of minutes ago, I got my very first text message from my 11-year-old son, who's just been given a mobile phone, and he has 3 names in his phone book, and he won't be able to add to it, which I'm pleased to say. But you know, you become acutely aware of these things. But as a public representative for 18 years, I have been subjected to horrors, quite frankly, and I'm sure all of us have. But if we can do something in this house to protect our children and the children of tomorrow, then it's worthwhile. So thank you, Pascal Corley.